name is Mary, and you're listening to Reset Your Health. Today I have Steve, my husband, with me.
Hello, and we are reintroducing this podcast, and it's been since 2021 that we recorded the last episode, and while it's kind of bad planning on our behalf, we're hoping to kind of share some of the things that Mary has learned in the health world since that time.
So a lot has changed since then. In the previous podcasts, you can go back and listen. We had talked about my weight loss journey. So just to recap, I total have lost 175 pounds, and I've been able to keep it off for roughly about 13 years. Like, it took 2 years to get it off, and then I've been able to keep it off. A lot has happened. We'll go into that further into details and further up in future episodes. But at the time that we recorded last, I was just kind of starting personal training. So I had already been teaching group fitness for a few years, but then was transitioning to personal training at that time. Since then, I've been at a few different gyms. I actually have tried a lot of different ways, but now I'm actually a full-time personal trainer. Averaging full-time clients and at the gym that I'm at, and I just absolutely love it. Definitely way different type of career than group fitness. You would think similar, but there's huge differences in that.
Yeah, and it's been kind of interesting watching your journey as far as becoming a personal trainer, as far as the clientele that you've helped, and the fact that your schedule is jam-packed, which is kind of unheard of in the personal training industry. But what are some of the things, like, health-wise, that you've managed to have to jump over the hurdles of over the last couple of years, like, that have kind of hindered your health journey some? That have kind of been a learning experience and kind of looking back?
Well, I would first say, so 2 years, well, I guess we're at about 2.5 years, 2022. So spring of 2022, it was the fall of 2022. I ran a half marathon. So in the past, I had ran some 5Ks. I had done it's like 10K mud run, all of these things. And I never fully trained properly, I guess. I would train for it and make sure my endurance was up, but I didn't get proper shoes. It's like, oh my word, $160, $200 for a pair of shoes. That's crazy. And so I would run in shoes that probably were just, well, not probably, I know we're not proper for running. So finally I had a friend who really wanted me. She was like, come on, Mary, I know you can do this. Run this half marathon with us. And we had 6 months before it. And so in March of 2022, I started training, and the first thing I did was get fitted for proper shoes. And because in the past, every time I tried to run and do long distance running, I would get ankle sprains, stress fractures in my ankle. Like, I would constantly have these ankle issues. So I decided to do it properly. I started 6 months in advance. And mind you, this was not coming from not working out, but I was solely doing a running program. And I got proper shoes. I started doing it properly, running shorter distances. And as I kept running, they got longer. Well, about 2 weeks before my half marathon, I went to run a 10-mile run, and about 5 miles in, my left hip started hurting. I was like, okay, that's kind of odd, but I just kind of kept running through it, and I ran all the way back to the vehicle, and I got my 10 miles in, and I was hurting a little bit, but it wasn't till the next day that I realized I could barely walk. So after seeing a physical therapist and seeing what was going on and stuff, I did have a stress fracture. He actually advised that I don't run it, the half marathon, but if I was going to, then to wear a proper brace, all this stuff. Well, I decided I would still run the half marathon, and I wore that proper brace that he told me to, and I was able to run the half marathon in a good time. I had beat the time. I did 2 hours and 25 minutes, may not be super fast for some, but for me, it was beyond what I thought I would be able to make it to. Well, after the half marathon, I decided to give running a rest. I really wanted to train for a full marathon. And I went back to this physical therapist, and he advised me to stop long distance running. And by that time, I had fallen in love with running. I was probably in some of the best shape of my life. I wanted to get a full marathon in. But with my ankles, and I don't know if some of this is probably genetic. I know my mom used to have issues with her ankles. And so I don't know how much is genetic and how much is just because for so many years I would get injuries and then I would still work out on them. But I decided to take his advice and I stopped running, which was really, really difficult for me. But I also knew that if I didn't stop doing this, all I was doing is causing my body damage. So I did stop working out. Of course, I gave my ankle the proper time to reset and heal from the stress fracture that it had. But I don't know, my obsession with exercise, it was just hard for me to let something go and go, you know what, I got to do what's best for my body. And now over the past couple years, he's let me know, run, 2 to 5 miles if my ankle's not hurting. So I do run 2 to 5 miles sometimes. One of my clients this year, I ran a 5K with her. We were getting her cardio up and stuff. And so I ran one on 4th of July with her. I still run with her once a week, most of the time and stuff. But there's some weeks that my ankle starts talking to me and I don't run those weeks. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to do a heavy incline walk instead because I can't handle that. I had similar situations, which I can cover 14ers and what that all means, but there are some of the highest peaks in Colorado. I've been hiking those over the past few years. And I've had some issues with my psoas flaring up. And so I guess over the past few years, one of the main things I've learned is how to listen to my body. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have taken a lot of training at this point, a lot of courses that explain really the damage that I'm doing and how pushing through, it's not just about pushing through for that day or that week. Over the long term, we're causing a lot of damage. So for instance, with my right ankle, I pushed through so many injuries in that one that I now no longer the ligament is gone. So my bones rub on each other is what I've been told. And so I have to wear a tape around the ankle pretty much all the time, just because it can hurt just standing or walking. And so I guess what I would want you to get the most from all of that long story is the fact that there's a fine line. When it comes to exercise, yes, you want to feel your muscles growing. There's going to be some uncomfortable, because I've also had situations where people don't want to get uncomfortable in the exercise. And that's definitely something that we need to get uncomfortable, but also knowing when the limits are. One of the biggest things I would say is joints. Pay attention to when the joints are hurting. If an ankle is hurting, if an elbow is hurting, if the knee is hurting, pay a lot of attention to that, because a lot of times that's a warning sign. If your quads are hurting while you're doing a leg extension, well, guess what? Your quads are just working and they need to work during a leg extension. But you can tell the difference and make sure you listen to it. If you're one that maybe has knee problems and you're doing a bunch of squats, weighted squats and stuff, and we have to say a lot of people do weighted squats horrible. And I watch it in the gym all the time and it drives me crazy. But if you're doing weighted squats and your knees are just burning all the time, you're probably doing something wrong, or maybe you're doing the form right and you're doing everything properly, but that your body may not be able to handle that and withstand that.
So just as a kind of a primer here so that people understand your background, what are your certifications and what are your, where did you take your focus, I guess, with your certifications?
Well, so certification world can get quite difficult. I originally started with group cycle, and group cycle, I ended up getting it through NETA. Well, found out that one wasn't as accredited. So I switched it over to AFAA and the American Fitness Association. And with that, I ended up every 2 years, we have to get continued education. So I have to get 2 CEUs every 2 years. Part of that has to be done from, of course, CPR, AED type training. And then the rest of it has to be done through more courses that I take. And so I got cycle. Well, I switched it to the AFAA, and then I decided to get group fitness. And that's where all that started. And about the time we moved here to Colorado, so this would have been 2 years before we ever did this podcast before, I decided, hey, why not take personal training and nutrition? And so I took those 2 courses. I was homeschooling at that time, didn't think I would really use it as a full-time basis. And that's when I became a personal trainer and a national nutritionist. Well, then another 2 years goes by and I have to get another certification. And so I decided last time was corrective exercise specialist. So that's kind of somebody who comes after a physical therapist. So I am not as educated as a physical therapist. We definitely work in different ways, but I'm kind of I come after the physical therapist, or I work kind of hand in hand with the physical therapist. Sometimes I do have clients who have been released to do regular exercise, and then the physical therapist will send things with me of what is going on, maybe, a hamstring tear or knee. I've worked with a lot of knee replacements, things like that, after the first initial part of recovery after surgery and injuries. So that one was definitely an intense course. Right now I'm on to my weight loss specialist course. I haven't taken the exam yet. I'm almost done with the course. Yeah.
So back to your running, what are some of the health benefits of running, and what are some of the things that if you're going to run that you should kind of watch out for? I know you touched on a little bit of it, but what are some of the health benefits of running compared to some other exercises?
Well, what's funny is running is actually, I don't want to say it is bad for our bodies. It can be quite stressful on our bodies. It's a lot of pounding, and there is proper ways. I've never had a running coach and things like that. And if you want to get in-depth running, that's definitely the way to go. I'm not a running coach. That's not something I could help somebody get an exact perfect run, but it's all about the landing, and most of us land hard. So mine is ankle, but then other people end up with knee issues, and maybe that's because of different areas. Now, mind you, some of my ankle issues are because my hips are off center or off. My left hip is sitting higher than my right side is. And so just because you're feeling pain in the knee doesn't mean it's technically coming from the knee. It could be the muscles that are connecting to the knee. It could be coming from the hip. It could be coming from the way the kinetic chain works. It can be coming from a lot of different areas. But with that, running is great for endurance. It's obviously great for calorie burn. You can burn a lot of calories within that hour of exercise or 2 hours of exercise. But it's funny because one thing I do know, for instance, if I'm doing an incline walk, and let's say I'm at an 18% incline on the treadmill at a 3 in speed, but then I'm running and I'm at a 2% incline, but I'm running at a 5.2 speed, just as an example, I actually am going to burn a very similar amount of calories, but my body is not going to get the hit that running causes it. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is just listen to your body and be careful, because running is fantastic. I mean, it's great. People get runner's high. I know some of you, there's like, oh, I hate running. Probably like there's no such as runner's high. Except for I hated running when I started that half marathon training. And within 3 months into that training, I would get those runner's high, the runner high. And I do miss that running. But just listen, decide if it's the right type of exercise for your body. And then go from there. It does help burn a lot of calories. It does help just lean you out. It helps give energy. I mean, I don't think there's science behind that, but I know when I was running, it just sets off these endorphins that just give you more energy for the next few hours. So.
And it kind of also wakes up your cells and your legs. And like, especially if you have a sedentary job like I do, it can give your legs some of the much needed movement that it's not getting throughout the day.
But if you're not a runner, just keep in mind, walking, obviously, if you're just a sedentary and you sit at a desk all day and you haven't been in the gym over the years and stuff, starting with just regular walking, either flat on a treadmill or outside on flat roads. But if you're one that maybe you've had some issues like me, maybe you're running and your knee is really bothering you anymore, or whatever is going on. I just hear of a lot more knee pain with running. There's runner's knee and different things, IT band syndrome, all this stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is if running is not something that your body can handle, then it's okay to go a different route. Maybe you do have decent endurance, do some incline walking. Or maybe if you are in a gym, go and do the stair stepper, or get a stair step up and just do stair steps, start with 100 of them. Or if you're doing good, do 500 of them, wherever you're at. So you can definitely get into running if that's something you want to do and some goals you want to do. But if you're not at that place and you can't handle that, then you can get it in so many other ways. And the biggest thing is you just want to make sure you're getting cardio in, because that's so, so important. Yes, we'll touch base on resistance training and stuff in the future, but, cardio is so needed. I mean, it's exercising your heart and it's helping your lungs. It's helping everything. You need cardio in some way.
So is there anything else you want to bring up on this particular episode before we kind of close out? Is there something that you want to leave people with as far as like maybe a fitness tip, additionally to what we've already talked about, or, anything regarding that?
I don't think so. I think mainly just get out there and get started. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a personal trainer, but a lot of times the gym and getting into exercise can be very intimidating. It's something that you walk in and you're like, oh my word, this place is huge. Or maybe it's not that big of a gym, but all of these machines, I don't know how to use this machine, or I start using this machine and the picture shows these muscles working, but I'm actually feeling it in this other place and whatever. Take the money and invest in a trainer. Maybe invest for 2 months, invest for 6 months, whatever you got to do, but invest so that you can learn how to use the muscles. You can learn that equipment, and you also get accountability. Right now we're sitting in the middle of November. We're coming into the new year and everybody's I'm going to get fit for the new year. But without that accountability piece, a lot of times those people end up leaving the gym by the second week of January. And it's like, so see what you can handle, or maybe a friend. If it's a friend that actually, what I want to say with that is I see a lot of people who try to get a friend. Hey, why don't you come do weight loss with me or do some resistance? And that friend also is not one that's into the gym. That can be a little difficult, because those two friends who do not have a routine of exercise are trying to keep each other accountable, but yet neither one of them have a routine. If you're going to just find a friend, make sure you find somebody who does know exercise, can help you with some of those forms, and has already set themselves a routine in the gym. And they'll just say, okay, you have dedicated yourself to these 2 days of the week or whatever, and be willing to stick to that.
So as we close out this episode, so in the future, maybe we can link or kind of suggest maybe some good YouTube channels for do-it-yourself home workouts that could help people, maybe some stuff for stretching that for people that might have some, tightened muscles, maybe some, suggestions with like a foam roller or things like that, that people could invest in. And then, of course, if people want to interact with and leave comments for you for future episodes, these episodes will be posted not only on iTunes, Spotify, and a lot of those type places, but it will also be on geekcastradio.com, where people can comment on the episode post or on our Facebook page as well.
And please let me know what you would like to have covered. What are some topics? I already have some in as an idea, things like sugar. I want to talk a bit about, different nutrition things, different exercise, resistance training, things like that. But also remember, I'm a nutritionist. So there's a lot of information I have there too. So anything you may want to hear covered, please let us know so that I can try to cover it. And so this is something I do with my clients in the gym, is a quote of the day. So I want to add this into my shows. So each of my shows will have a quote of the day. And today is going to be, you don't have to be good to start. You just have to start to be good. And that's by Joe Sabah.
So with that, we have been Steve and Mary, and we're signing off on Reset Your Health.
Bye.
Turn the page on yesterday. Mary's here to light the way. Find the strength to stand and say goodbye to old unhealthy ways. Morning light brings a brand new start. Listen close and play your part. Transform your mind, transform your heart. From the shadows you'll depart. Reset your health, renew your soul. Let the good days take control. With each step, watch blessings roll. Healthy body, mind, and soul. Mary's wisdom guides you through all the things you need to do. A path of health that's strong and true. A life that's made brand new. Leave behind the doubts and fears. Wipe away those wasted years. Rise above and dry your tears. A brighter future now appears. Reset your health, renew your soul. Let the good days take control. With each step, watch blessings roll. Healthy body, mind, and soul.